Contrary to popular opinion, listening is not a passive activity. It is the most active thing you can do. Now, that being said, let's negotiate. What's up, everybody? I am super excited to be talking to you today. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. We are going to be reviewing the book, Never Split the Difference. And here is the author of that book, Chris Voss. He founded the Black Swan Group, and he talks about the Black Swan event in the latter part of his book as one of the tools in your negotiation tool belt. I won't go through all of this information, but I will just read the first line here. He has used his many years of experience in international crisis and high-stakes negotiations to develop a unique program and team that applies these globally proven techniques to the business world. He used to work for the FBI, was a former hostage negotiator, was very good at what he did, and now he kind of spreads that knowledge to the business world. So again, Chris Voss with the Black Swan Group. Never Split the Difference was probably the best book I've read in the past 4 to 6 months by quite a wide margin. And the reason for that is it's not just about negotiation. It's about psychology. It's about bettering your relationships with everyone in your life, learning how to listen, and understanding how people truly operate. And this book won't just help you with negotiation, it will help you better all of your relationships and provide you with the tools to get the most out of them. Now, some of the criticisms of this book I've seen online are that the book can be rather manipulative in the ways that it teaches you how to utilize these techniques, but I don't really see it that way because he explains that in order to get something from somebody in a negotiation, you have to give them something. And that something has to be something that they want. Now, whether or not it's genuine that you actually want to give somebody what they want, that's a whole other conversation. But in the end, they're getting what they want. Hopefully you're getting what you want. It's a win-win across the board. What kind of surprised me in this book was what people actually wanted, specifically from people who are like kidnappers or people who take hostages, in a bank robbery. Many claim that they want money or something like that, but a lot of times what they actually want is to be understood. Now, this book places you inside the heads of the people you're negotiating with and will explain to you why, from a psychological perspective, why they would simply want to be understood. And as I said before, he leverages techniques that are rooted in psychology and human behavior analysis. In fact, he quotes quite a bit Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, as to how we can leverage psychology and human behavior to our benefit in a negotiation scenario. My favorite lesson from this book is you can get people to solve your problems for you in a negotiation if you choose your words carefully. Now, to do that, you have to ask open-ended questions. The best ones start with the words what or how. These get your quote-unquote opponent thinking. Now, as a simple example, let's just say that there's a hostage situation. The FBI has come in. Let's just say it's over a bank robbery. And the FBI gets in touch with the perpetrator of the crime over the phone, and he says, I want $1 million and a plane out of here to France or something. The FBI negotiator would ask, how am I supposed to do that? What that question just did was it took the responsibility of problem solving off of your shoulders and gave it right to the bad guy. Now, obviously, there are other nuances that would add to this situation, but now that we've placed the responsibility on somebody else's shoulders to get them to solve our problems, oftentimes Chris Voss mentions that this gets the bad guy to understand that what he's demanding isn't exactly going to work. And this can get him to adjust his demands over time. These open-ended questions that begin with what or how have a very disarming effect, and for that reason, they also work really well against manipulators. So if you find yourself being manipulated, although I guess if you're being manipulated, maybe you don't know you're being manipulated, but if you do know you're being manipulated and you're not doing anything about it, shame on you. But if you know, ask open-ended questions that begin with the words what or how and see how it works, see what happens. Now, there is a word that you actually don't want to use in an open-ended question, and that word is why. Why is kind of like a piercing word that creates a sense of defensiveness. And the book says the only time you really want to use an open-ended question beginning with why is if the defensiveness created by that question supports the change you want them to see. Now let's talk about salary. How the hell do you get a higher one? So there's a couple techniques in the book that he lays out, and I'll just lay out a few of them for you. You want to set an anchor point in your salary negotiation. Now, an anchor point is a number that's on an extreme side of a spectrum, with your employer being, if you're in a $50,000 job, your employer is going to want to offer 40, and you are going to want to offer something much higher than that. Let's just say a range between $55,000 and $75,000. Now, the reason for this is that, again, rooted in psychology, it gets them to think at a much larger scale. And if your employer thinks this is crazy, there are ways to mitigate this. Giving odd numbers in your range. So, for example, instead of saying $55,000 to $75,000, you would say, I've researched it, and the careers or the jobs in our field offer between $55,175 and $74,153 as a salary. What this says to your employer or potential employer is that you've done your research. These are not some arbitrary numbers. You're not wasting their time. Now, if you prepare really well and you get further and further in this negotiation, and the person you're talking to starts to kind of teeter back a little bit and gets a little more skeptical, remember in the beginning, I said that oftentimes people just want to be understood. Now, what you can always do is throw up a mirror, and this can get your negotiation back on track, moving in the way that you want it to go. Now, a mirror is when you would say something like, I see you're hesitant about this. Your position to me seems to be X, Y, and Z, and I can see that this and that seems really important to you. And a lot of times what you'll get back is a look of like, yes, like that's it. You understand me. And once you get that, they can open up to you even more. And then they'll be operating further in that range that you dropped, that anchor that you dropped. Now, again, these examples I'm giving are very surface level. I encourage you to read this book in order to take a deep dive and really get into the nitty-gritty details. And so much of this is preparation, not just salary negotiation, but if you're trying to negotiate with your spouse or a colleague or your kids or whatever the case may be, all of these techniques can be helpful in all of your relationships. And preparation is so incredibly key in any negotiation. For example, if it's salary, do your market research, right? Have everything written down. Think about what you're going to say, role play off of your spouse, a friend, whatever. See if you can imitate the conversation and how it might go. Preparation is key. If you're, debating or negotiating with your spouse, go back to previous conversations in your head, see if you can put yourself in their shoes, figure out what they want. Again, it's a lot about just understanding people and what they want. Throw up a mirror, let them know that you understand or seem to at least understand their emotions and what they're thinking. Remember, listening is not a passive activity. It is the most active thing you can do. And not only will it show you how to achieve better deals, but it will show you how to work with the person you're negotiating with so that the both of you can come out of a negotiation with better standing. Except, of course, for maybe the kidnappers and the criminals in the audience. For you, it may show you how the FBI will make mincemeat out of you.